Yesterday, Apple announced brand new iPad Pro models, those being the 4th generation 12.9-inch iPad Pro and the 2nd generation 11-inch iPad Pro, which I will just be calling the 2020 iPad Pros for the purpose of this video, so I don't have to confuse myself with two different names for basically the same product. Because much like the 2018 iPad Pros, you are getting basically the exact same thing in both models. It's literally just the screen size that changes. Well, technically the battery size changes as well, but you get the same battery life in both models, just the 12.9-inch has a bigger battery to power the bigger screen. You get the point. You're getting the same features in both iPads, it's just the screen size that's changing between the models, so we'll just call them the 2020 iPad Pros. Now, the iPad Pros have not been updated since October of 2018, so it's been well over a year by this point, so it's pretty good that these are getting updated. This isn't exactly a radical design change like the 2018 iPad Pro was, but I don't think anybody was really expecting that. So I'm just going to go over real quick exactly what is new in these models. Probably the biggest physical difference is going to be the camera system on the back. You'll notice a square, quite like what the iPhone 11 series had on the back with its cameras. Although the 3 lenses on this iPad Pro, there's actually 2 camera lenses and a sensor. So you're getting a wide-angle camera, an ultra-wide-angle camera, and a Lidar sensor, which is quite interesting. So the wide camera is the same 12 megapixel wide camera straight off of the iPhone 11 and iPhone 11 Pro. It's not exactly the ultra wide camera directly off of the iPhone 11 and iPhone 11 Pro though, because the iPhone 11 series ultra wide cameras were 12 megapixel just like the wide angle, but the ultra wide on the iPad is only 10 megapixels, but it shouldn't be all too bad, and I think the iPad Ultra Wide has a slightly larger field of view than the iPhone Ultra Wide, which is pretty cool. Let me just say, I never had any idea I would use the ultra wide camera lens on my phone as much as I did until I actually used the phone. There have been so many times where I needed to zoom out and get more of the picture. I literally thought the ultra wide camera would be completely useless before I got my 11 Pro, but I've actually used it more than the telephoto. So it is good that that's included in the iPad now, especially a lot of people, iPad is nice to use for filmmaking because you can set it up on a tripod and you have a big screen for your preview, so people may take a liking to having that ultra-wide camera. Of course though, like I said, no telephoto. Instead, it is a Lidar sensor, which Lidar is not new technology by any means, but I believe this is the first large-scale application on a tablet at least, and maybe a mobile device if I'm not mistaken. The whole concept is we're using infrared beams to map out 3D environments, and so this will help a lot with augmented reality. Apple is trying to push that really hard in their products for the last few years, and that should make it a lot more accurate, being able to map out a room in 3D using these infrared cameras. I'm interested to see what developers use it for other than just very basic crappy AR stuff that exists right now. I'd really like to see, this has a potential to be very interesting going forward. There's also a new chipset, which is the A12Z Bionic. I was really hoping for an A13X, which would be a much more power efficient chip than the A12X, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Instead, they're just upgrading the A12 again. There is definitely going to be a power increase since this iPad gets the same battery life as the 2018, and there's nothing in this iPad that would suck up any more power, which means that the chip's not really any more power efficient. This is all in terms of processing power, the improvement, but they haven't exactly listed on their website what the power improvement is. They just said faster than most PC laptops. So I'm not really sure what that implies, because the 2018 iPad Pro was already faster than most PC laptops, at least in Apple's mind, so I'm not really sure what they were going for there. I'm sure any power increase will be welcome, and the 2018 iPad Pro is still really gosh darn fast. Even over a year later, it still blows most other mobile devices out of the water. I think it's the A12X and the iPad Pros is actually faster than the A13 in the iPhone 11 series, so maybe it was better they stuck with that architecture because they know it works. I'm just interested to see some benchmarks and see exactly how much faster the A12Z is than the A12X. Another interesting technical thing inside is that every single model will have 6 gigabytes of RAM. With the last generation of iPad Pros, you got 4 gigabytes of RAM unless you went with 1 terabyte of internal storage, in which case you would get 6 gigabytes of RAM. Now I'm being told, it's not listed on Apple's website, but we're being told by other sources that it's 6 gigabytes of RAM across the line with these models. Also included in those internals is two new wireless technologies, Wi-Fi 6, which is a new Wi-Fi protocol that runs a lot faster. If you have a Wi-Fi 6 router, then that's pretty cool. You can take advantage of the Wi-Fi 6 speed. This is the second Apple device to support Wi-Fi 6. The iPhone 11s were the first. Then it also has the new, whatever the heck they called it, chip out of the iPhone 11 series that gives the phone, in this case the iPad, spatial awareness to locate objects in the environment, supposedly working with the AirTags whenever the heck those come out. That's a whole nother can of worms. And believe it or not, that is all that's new in these models. So screen's exactly the same, the front-facing camera, Face ID, sensors are all exactly the same, the body other than the camera bump is exactly the same, speakers are the same, microphones are the same. It's just the new camera and the new internals, which are definitely welcome for sure. In terms of pricing, the pricing structure is exactly the same as the 2018 iPad Pro, except for the cellular models appear to be about $50 cheaper now. $50, I mean, you're spending this much on an iPad, that's not really significant, but all the cellular models appear to be $50 cheaper. Everything else, though, exactly the same across the line, same storage tiers, same screen sizes, same prices. Apple's a little bit unclear about when these iPads will release, but they are available for pre-order right now, and delivery between April 2nd and April 6th, which means the release date's probably April 2nd. That's just my guess. We'll see what actually happens. This whole coronavirus thing is messing up supply chains, so who knows, but probably around the beginning of April is when we can expect this iPad Pro to hit stores. And that is what's new in these 2020 iPad Pros. I will hopefully have some more detailed thoughts on what I think about all this out later after I've had some time to really think it over and process what's going on here, but let me just say there's a lot less new than I originally would have thought, which is a little bit unfortunate, but I am just happy that these got updated at all. Apple's doing better updating their products as they go, and it needs to be done. Everything needs to be up to date. It's not just the iPhones that need to get new releases every year. It's good to keep the iPads up to date too, and so this is pretty cool. And hopefully I'll see you guys pretty soon to talk about some of the other stuff Apple dropped yesterday, and maybe these iPads in a little bit more detail.